Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Bear Experiment podcast. I'm your host, Monica Clavijo, and today's episode is about to take you deep into the frequency of truth, transformation, and awakening. Joining me is someone who doesn't just speak from the mind, he speaks from the soul. Opti-Mystic Banks is a mystic rapper, spiritual mentor, philosopher, gifted psychic. Through his music, he weaves ancient wisdom and cosmic truths into lyrical poetry that not only heals but activates. As a creator of mystic sessions, he guides others on the path to self realization using tarot, numerology, and deep energetic work. He's not here to entertain the matrix, he's here to break it. In this conversation, we'll explore spiritual awakening, the mirror principle, healing the inner child, how to activate your third eye, and the powerful intersection between rap, manifestation, and divine frequency. We'll also dive into controversial topics like addiction recovery, psilocybin, and whether some forms of mental illness are actually signs of spiritual evolution. This is an episode for the seekers, the misfits, the awakened, and those ready to remember who they really are. So take a deep breath, get grounded, let's begin. But I also want to thank you all for all of your support by subscribing to our YouTube channel and hitting the notification bell so that you never miss another episode. We're inviting amazing guests to the podcast who are continuing to show us how to better understand the path to awakening our souls. Now let's dive in.
Little rain, hey, just another laid-back day. Winter sprung, summer's hung now, autumn's on display. I'm begging for the change, hey, on the corner of sunset and mundane. Like August rains to autumn suns, I fall right into May. It's just a little rain, hey, it's just another easy-going day. But it ain't easy growing up when all you know is growing pains. It's just a little rain, hey, it's just another easy growing day. It sure is easy showing up when you know that easy way. It's just a little rain, hey, just a little slight delay. But with the subtle sun comes puddle fun till we wash it all away. Quit begging for the change, hey, on the corner of someday and no way. Like August rains to autumn suns, you fall right into May. You fall right into May, maybe it was July. You fly from the UK down to Timbuktu and Dubai. When I make it rain, the plane delay over your third eye. But you don't need to see our baby, baby, to know you be mine. It's just a little rain, a little easy breeze, a little hurricane to sweep you off your feet. It's overrated when the sun shine, baby. You can let it all go and fall right into May. It's just a little rain. It's just a little rain, hey, it's just another easy going day. But it ain't easy growing up when all you know is growing pains. It's just a little rain, hey, it's just another easy going day. It sure is easy showing up when you know that easy way. It's just a little rain, hey, it's just another easy going day. But it ain't easy growing up when all you know is growing pains. It's just a little rain, hey, it's just another easy going day. It sure is easy showing up when you know that easy way.
Yeah, you look good.
Cool.
All right, Opti-Mystic Banks. What am I calling?
Yes.
So my first name is Banks. I go by Optimistic Banks. That's my rap name, and that's my professional name.
Okay, I love it. I love that. I love that you rap because, I have a little, secret side of me where I've
Yep.
always been rapping since I was a young girl.
Oh yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's
What's
I have fun with it. So I really enjoy rap music and just, having fun with lyrics for sure. So I was listening to your stuff. It's good stuff. It's
Oh,
good.
cool. Thank you. I appreciate that.
We'll definitely get into that. So you ready?
Yeah.
You ready to get
I'm
started?
ready to go. Yeah. Let's
All
do
right.
it.
We're good. Yeah, we're good. Okay. So let's start with that. Tell me about your music. How did you get started rapping?
So I started rapping when I was like 13 or 14. Eminem came out when I was like in seventh grade. So that was like a big pivotal moment for not only for hip hop, but definitely for myself because like I liked hip hop, but I wasn't sure if it was okay for white kids to do it yet. It was kind of one of those things. So just slowly started getting into it like that, and then took it really seriously by the time I got out of high school. And I was in a hip hop group called the Sophisticats, and it was me and my brother, another guy, and a DJ. And we had some success with that. We got signed by Snoop Dogg's distribution label, and did that until I was probably like 25, 26. And
Hmm.
then kind of put that on the back burner. We all kind of went our separate ways. I went into like corporate sales life and basically abandoned my creative passions for like 10 years. And it wasn't until I had my awakening at the age of 33 where it was like boom and it all came back. And that was 4 years ago.
That's interesting that it was at the age of 33. That's a powerful number also.
My favorite number.
Yeah, very cool. So, as a mystic rapper, how do your lyrics act as coded messages for awakening, right? Because that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's your creative juice, right? You're just trying to help awaken the rest of us. So, how do you come up with
Absolutely.
this?
Well, just that like when I speak to people and like they're like really fully ready to receive the message, I don't need to be so cryptic and so esoteric with it. But as you know, there's very few people that are like really truly ready to receive that type of message. It's just like
Absolutely.
here it is. So, by doing it in lyric and in song, it is kind of subconsciously programming people, right?
That is very
And
true,
because
right?
I know for me, when I woke up and I went back and listened to like Wu Tang and all the things I listened to growing up, I was like, oh my God, like
They've been talking to us the whole time.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just take that and do that. And because as mystics, since the beginning of time, pretty much, we've kind of had to be a little esoteric, a little in the shadows, not only because we would be persecuted and all that, but just because not everybody's ready for the message. So you have to kind of deliver it in secret ways to keep it secret so that only the people that are ready to receive it can actually find it.
Okay, okay, that makes a lot of sense, and I can certainly identify with that. You're right, right? We listen to a song today that we may listen after an awakening or something traumatic that has happened in our lives, and that song just sounds completely different. The meaning every single time with every little thing that's happened in your life.
Absolutely. It's so beautiful. There's not a lot of other things that can do that.
Yeah, yeah. So you talk a lot about the power of rhyming and manifestation and how these affirmations and rhyme raise your frequency. So is that a practice that we should start, implementing in our daily lives, coming up with some sort
Yeah.
of like poetry or rap music because it's going to elevate our frequency that much faster?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways to go about elevating your frequency. A rhyme is just one example that I think a lot of people miss that is a an identical or close to identical frequency match. So when you do that, it amplifies the magnification. And
Hmm.
I only stumbled across that from making music because I
Right.
would literally have like a vocal wavelength and like copy it and put it on top of the other, and then it would make the volume twice as loud, even though I didn't do anything to the volume.
Yes.
And I was like,
Yes.
okay. And so like that kind of helped me understand that. So, I mean, whatever works for you, but I think it's definitely important for the mind, body, soul balance to have some form of a creative expression like journaling, poetry, making music, uh, art, dance, whatever, creating things with your hands. It's very important. And that's like, I think, a big piece that a lot of people miss when they're trying to create a mind, body, soul balance. They're worried about how they're thinking and how they're acting and if they're eating right and exercising, but nobody ever thinks about the creative aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a very important part because it takes the negative energy that we've built up in ourselves, absorbed from other people, and it transmutes it into positive energy. And not only does that help you, but then whatever it is that you made is going to help the collective.
Right, right. It's true, right? Like so many of these grand painters and artists, Michelangelo, they always explain that they were in an esoteric type of state when they did paint, right? The Sistine Chapel, and they talk about that all the time, that it wasn't even them. They were channeling some sort of
Yeah.
an entity or power higher than they were. Maybe it's
Mhm.
their higher soul, right? Or their soul speaking through, through some esoteric, wind that you were kind of gliding by, and
Yeah.
they create these beautiful works of art that you're like, my God, they're so talented. But are they really that talented, or are they just more communicated than we
Yeah,
all
that's
are?
nowadays we call it flow state, but it is channeling. And a lot of people ask me, how am I psychic? Even without using things like tarot cards and different modalities. And it's because I finally gotten to the point where I speak my truth. And as long as I'm speaking my truth, I basically am channeling, you know?
Right,
And that goes for everybody.
which
That's the
is
secret.
how you explain, right? Authenticity, just being yourself, not giving a shit what anybody thinks about you at that
Yes,
point.
because then you become the creator of your reality, and that's why you're psychic, right?
Hmm.
What it's like, am I just making it up? Yeah, I pretty much am. There are certain things that come in with visions and things that are very direct that it's like I'm not making this up. But even when I feel like I'm making it up, eventually I'll get like on a roll with saying something that just profoundly clicks with the person that I'm talking to, and that's just comes from the trust of like trusting the way my own mind thinks and trusting the way I'm creating my reality.
So did this all start when you hit the age of 33 and had this awakening moment, or did you have spells when you were younger, where now that you can dissect and go back, you can say, well, I kind of remember this was starting to happen, but I shut it down because I didn't want to be crazy or be classified as a crazy person within society.
A good question. Um, no, I did not have any magical psychic certain kind of like extrasensory perceptions, I guess, when I was really young. Like, feeling if someone was gonna like hit me in the back with a stick and like I'd catch it before, but like little things like that, but nothing to where I was like this is magical and like I'm seeing things, and it was never like that my entire life. I never asked for a sign, never saw one. um and but growing up doing music, and then I got into like corporate sales training. I became ironically a sales guru in my professional life for many years, and so all of that kind of lent itself to um the art of going with the flow, right?
Yeah.
Freestyling, making a sales pitch to somebody, all of it is kind of like this. It's not preconceived, and you kind of just have to go with what it gives you. So that definitely helped me when I woke up. But when I woke up, I had a near death experience at the age of 33, and at the time I was addicted to drugs. Um, Everything in my life was falling apart. COVID had just happened, um, and I had a friend of mine that worked for me that like I knew there was something magical about him, and I really trusted him, and he was like my best salesman that I ever hired. He was just like an amazing youthful beautiful person, and I was just like, I don't know why, but I asked him for help when I was like in this dark place, and he was like, yeah, I can help you, bro. I'll come over to your house and like we'll do a little ceremony. And then basically he came over and we did a psychedelic ceremony, and I have like basically zero experience with psychedelics at that time. Smoked a lot of weed and did mushrooms here and there, but never ever had a profound experience. Was always afraid to go too deep into these kind of things.
So which one did
And
you try?
DMT-5-MeO,
Oh, that's the hard one
which is
too.
supposedly the world's most powerful psychedelic, and it's, the venom of a toad. And I smoked it, and within 1 second, all of reality imploded, turned into black and white geometric shapes. I felt like a very painful zap through my brain, and just knew that I was dying. And went through within like a moment, less than a second, every thought in my mind that ever existed went through, and I felt who Banks was, my life, everything that I thought was important to me, all of it just getting ripped away from me. And like, my friend told me before I did it, he was like, whatever happens, just let go. And I was like, okay. And in that moment of like dying, basically, I really didn't want to let go, but it rips it from you so fast. So I ended up in a place that they describe as the void, which is like complete emptiness. I didn't have a body. I ceased to exist. I was the awareness of everything and nothing.
So you were
And
what we actually are, right?
yes, yes.
You actually
And
got to that form. Let me ask you before you
yeah,
continue though.
sure.
Were you clean and sober prior
No,
to doing DMT or
no.
you it's right, because then that can have a negative effect as well, right?
Yes, I was high on meth,
Hmm.
so that was another layer added to it. Um, yeah, I've had a lot of thoughts about that. Like, did I actually die? Because I don't actually believe in death now. I believe that we simply fall asleep in one reality and wake up in another,
I'm following you. Mhm.
right? So, anyway, but in that void, there was like an empty bubble. It was like a cute little kind of blue, little bit of like light kind of coming off of it, and it was just like this beautiful, cute, perfect little bubble. And I understand it now as like kind of like the beginning. An empty bubble of potential. It was like showing me like, this is you, this has always been you, you have nothing to worry about. And that trip only lasts for like 15 seconds in
So I
reality.
was gonna ask you that. How long were you under for?
It's only 15 minutes, but in that place, it was like forever and never, kind of the same feeling. And
Bless you.
thank you. And I had the feeling of, oh, this is boring. Like, to have all the answers, to be the answer, to be everything and nothing. It is so blissful. I totally get it. I feel bad for everybody still living, but I could see why this could get boring after a while, and I'd want to actually experience something.
So
And then whoop, I came back right when I had that
this
thought.
is part of the reason why when we incubate, right, into the matrix, we have to kind of have that eraser happening in our brain in
Yes,
order to be able to experience all the lessons that we're supposed to learn, whether good or bad. Listen,
basically.
sometimes I ask myself that question all the time. I'm like, would I want to remember why the hell I chose to come here? Because this could get hard. This could
I
get
know
really
that
hard.
for me, the most like euphoric and amazing moments in my life have been when I have feelings of remembrance. Like, oh yeah, I remember when we used to do that. Oh, and it's like I feel like that's like a micro fractal of what it's like, to be the all, to forget, and then to slowly wake up and remember. It's like, oh yeah, it's that such a great feeling. And I think that, it's finding infinite ways to express that through us.
So you having tried DMT, because that's one of the things that I actually wanted to speak with you about. Is this something that you would recommend to anybody, seeking higher consciousness and
Yeah.
spiritual awakening? Or could this be really dangerous where you develop an addiction or go crazy or
Mhm. I don't recommend it for someone who who is far beyond the how do I say this? Because like I wouldn't recommend it for someone who's like deep into schizophrenia or something like that.
all right, already with
Um
some sort of mental health challenges where
yeah,
they've been
and I don't
diagnosed.
I don't like to even label it mental health because I know what they're actually going through, and
Mm-hmm.
they're not crazy. They're actually very gifted,
And
but
we're
you
getting
kind
into
of
that too.
okay, right? So you got to,
Yeah.
but you've got to kind of almost logically bring them back, not with psychedelics. It's an interesting process, but I definitely recommend look, it was the scariest thing that ever happened in my life, and it ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me. And so I recommend it, but now when if I'm helping people in this fashion, which I do with like shaman work type stuff with psychedelics, I prefer to introduce them with the plant-based DMT.
Mm-hmm.
It's much more chill. It's like a 5 minute trip. You're in the body. You can keep your eyes open or you can have your eyes closed and you can kind of like microdose your way into higher levels of awareness within your mind. I find that more beneficial for people trying to peek in. But no matter what, having a near death experience on a psychedelic or otherwise will most certainly improve your life because the overarching fear of all fears is the fear of death. And once you overcome that, everything else seems pretty silly.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes so you consider your near-death experience it happening for the first time when you were trying DMT and you had the experience where you actually saw your human self, because that's what you were doing. You were up top now and you're looking down on this, projection that we have here
Yep.
on planet Earth, right? So
Hmm.
it's interesting because what are your thoughts on COVID? Do you feel that because COVID fucked everybody up, I think.
Hmm.
Like
Oh,
COVID
big
was
time.
just like everybody was stuck in their house. There was this fear factor where if you didn't get the shot, you were going to die, and vice versa. And it's like, you don't want to argue with different people, but just being stuck in your house and learning to live again. Um, you know, behind four walls, and if you have children, and how many divorces took place, and how many, husbands were beating up on their wives because they had to be looking at each other's face 24/7.
Yeah,
And I believe that COVID had a very mass awakening on this planet.
absolutely. I think it was absolutely needed. It was a probable it was a probable outcome of the infinite set of possibilities for my timeline. So, and each individual observer is experiencing, their own variation of the timeline. And some of them are on such a far away timeline to where they didn't even experience COVID in any way. I believe in multiple timeline universes, infinite versions of ourselves type of thing. But I know that um, I felt like I manifested COVID in a way when I first started waking up, and I still feel like that on a certain level, but I know that there's different levels of realization to it now. But just that it was too perfect in a way to where it was the beginning of my life falling apart. It was like a forced inward, a forced meditation for the collective. It was a forced, dark night of the soul for the collective. And for me, looking back at it all, I look back at it and say, oh wow, what a perfect orchestration because there were so many things that I was not willing to let go of that I needed pressure and force to make me let go of them.
So
Um,
so could it have been that there was a mass connection with humanity at that point where we were all collectively asking for something to shut down the world so that we can manifest a different lifestyle, because
yeah,
we're all robots. I mean, that's what everybody's
exactly.
doing. We wake up, we go to work, we come home, we cook
And even
dinner.
if we don't know we're asking for it, it's just like, I didn't ask to have a spiritual awakening. I didn't ask to die. I didn't ask to have psychic powers. Um, but I always was meant to have these things. And so your higher self, your future self, however you want to look at it, is always nudging you and helping you make the right decisions and all these kind of things
Right.
to actually make it so that you have the path of least resistance to getting to your truest self. But we end up kind of, going in different directions. But all roads lead to the same place no matter what we do. I truly believe that.
Do you believe that?
Yeah.
So no matter what, our destinies already written out.
So here's how I believe that it works. I believe that it's so infinite
that we have this thing called free will. So that, there's infinite timelines, and within every infinite timeline and every infinite decision, everything is perfectly set up to get you to where you are going to end up no matter what. And I'm not saying that where we end up is always looks like the same place or always feels like the same place, but I'm saying that no matter where you go, every road leads to the same place, which is self-discovery. And that's ultimately what we come here to do, and send that back to source.
Okay, that makes sense. When you are doing your psychic readings, you are also doing it through tarot reading, correct?
Yeah.
So that's something, that's a trait that you had to learn, right? Like
Yeah.
how to read the card. So can you walk us a little bit through that? Do you
Yeah.
do it where you are reading the image on the card? Because I bought some tarot cards during COVID.
Yep. Yep. Me too.
I did a lot of crazy shit during COVID. And I bought some tarot cards. I still have them here in Oracle cards, and I would practice on myself and reading others on the phone. I would get my girlfriends, and I didn't think I was very connected because I wasn't very good at any of the information that I was saying. But when I was doing it on myself,
Mhm.
I would read the actual picture of what
Yeah.
was on the tarot, right? And that what was that saying to me? Oh, the sky, it's raining. Okay, maybe you got to be careful because there's a hurricane coming and it's going to blow out our house.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, like, I got into tarot as a fan of it at first because I needed answers.
Yeah.
So I
Same
was just
here.
watching it on YouTube, and I was so uh amazed at how accurate it was sometimes, and I was just like, whoa, this is trippy. And kind of almost by accident, because what the universe did for me is it kind of woke me up with numbers at first. So it was a
Okay.
lot of number synchronicities. So as I was kind of learning about astrology and tarot just from watching YouTube stuff, I was deeply immersing myself into numerology. Um, and learned the simple divine understandings of the 12 numbers of numerology. And it's kind of like understanding the 12 signs of the zodiac. It's kind of similar, but it's more simple. One representing like the beginning, the masculine, the leader. Two is the gatherer. Three is the creative force. Four is stability, like the four legs of a table. Nine is the end of a cycle. Things like this that just made a lot of like logical sense to my masculine mind. It's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. When there's two things together, it's like unity, it's gathering. Okay, that makes sense.
Right.
So from there, I got more into sacred geometry, and I noticed that, okay, this is connected to numerology, because of now that I'm understanding the numerology, I'm understanding more about circles and squares and triangles, and now we're going bigger into bigger dimensions and stuff, and it's all doing this repeating thing that I was getting this deep kind of primordial understanding of things. And then that led to color symbolism, and then that's when it clicked for me that I was like, oh my god, this is connected to tarot. This is what tarot is. So I don't memorize the cards. I know that, like, I know the swords represent the mental state. I know that the cups represent the emotional state. The wands represent magic and fire. And I learned through tarot kind of like the different elements, what water represents, air, fire, earth, and they're all reflections of us. And so one day it all just kind of came together and all really clicked for me. And it wasn't like I had to like learn all this exterior stuff. It's like it's coming from me. It's like I when I see something, I'm seeing it from the inside. I see how every physical form is manifested from the energetic spiritual realm, and how it gets manifested into this universe. It spirals and unfolds in numbers and shapes and colors. And that's when we unfold into human beings. Animals unfold into their shapes. Like a tiger is orange and white and black. And does that mean something? Yes, that means something.
Right.
They're a sensual creative creature who is a loner. And it's like you start realizing all these things, and it matches up with the colors, and it matches up with all the so like literally like everything in the physical world is a like mathematical frequential manifestation of an idea from the spiritual realm, and I
Right.
see it. So again, it's not like, oh, I have to learn all this stuff and then understand. It was like, no, whoa.
You learn the fundamental part of it, and then the rest of it is all your intuitive
Yeah.
um, right? Your intuitive
Yeah,
creative
absolutely.
views that you're looking into when you're doing that. It's interesting because I was going to ask you about numerology since you do that as well. And so then there is, right? So what do we call angel numbers, right?
Yep.
Ever since COVID took place, all I do is see 111, 222, 555. I could be having a moment of weakness, a moment where I get sad over a thought. I look at the clock, 444. And I'm
Yes.
just like, okay, this is not coincidence. This is
No.
not coincidence right now. This is something bigger than me that's talking to me. And I
Hmm.
need to understand how to decode this. What are
Yeah,
you trying to say to me?
it's literally like Neo in the Matrix in the first
Yeah.
Matrix movie. After he dies in the Matrix and he gets shot, then he wakes up and he sees everything in code.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally what happens to us as well. Whether you have a metaphorical death or whatever, you start to become aware of what was always there.
Right.
It was always there. You're becoming aware of it now and realizing that it's speaking to you on multiple levels. I mean,
It's
language is such.
constantly, yeah, it's constantly speaking to
Yeah,
us.
and spoken language, we lose so much information
Yes. Yeah.
when, you know what I mean, when conversing this way, when like when you start to get in tune with the real field of existence, like there's no information that's lost. And
Yeah.
it's it is, yeah, we are the mind experiencing the body, like we're like the awareness experiencing the physical realm, so like it's all you.
But part of the reason why, and I speak for myself when I ask all these questions, because part of my the beginning stages of my awakening, which I still feel that I'm very in the beginning stages, even though it started during COVID, and it started with the death of a parent. My father passed away, and I had a breakup also, where I was like, could it have been the breakup? And every mystic that I speak to, they say a big trigger is the death of a parent where
Yes.
it spiritually awakens you because now you have somebody that close to you on the other side that's constantly connecting with you that you didn't have
Yeah.
that before.
Yeah. And for COVID, there were definitely people that I knew that passed away from COVID and from other things, just from like getting addicted to drugs and things like that. And um I think that, yeah, that like ultimately it was like perfectly set up to rip a lot of things from people, um because that is what forces us also to ask the deeper questions. Like for me, losing all my friends, losing my house, losing like my mind, all of that was bad, but really what was the worst for me was losing my girlfriend that I was with since I was like 15. So, and I definitely needed to not be in that relationship anymore, but I didn't want to let go.
Right.
And it was very toxic. Not her fault. Not nobody's fault. It just happened.
You just weren't aligned together
Yeah,
anymore,
it
which
was. It
happens
just
a
didn't.
lot. Yeah.
And I didn't know. I didn't know how to let that go. I wouldn't let it go. So literally all the bad things that happened to me were the best things that happened to me because her cutting me off and cutting me out of her life completely. Like I haven't spoken to her in 4 years. I have no idea of what she's doing or if she knows what I'm doing. And having that best friend, that nurturer, that other half of me ripped away, just left this tremendous void in me, and it made me ask deeper questions that I'd never asked before. Like,
Yeah.
why is this amount of pain allowed to be have? Like, what is the purpose of this? And so asking those questions, uh, being still high on meth and psychosis and having psychic experiences, dreams that would come true, seeing people that have passed over before they die and then afterwards I find out they're dead, and all this stuff was all swirling around at the same time. And then one day my brother, who's a kung fu master of like 20 plus years, been meditating his whole life, he was like, hey, you're losing your shit, I think
Yeah.
you need to start meditating. And I was like, okay, I'll try it. So I went over to his house. And the first time I ever meditated, I had this like mind blowing initiation where it started out with like a forgiveness ritual meditation. And it was
Mm-hmm.
like, imagine all like the bad things that have happened, like put them in a cloud and then send them off in the outer space. And then, like, as soon as I sent it off into outer space, boom, I was locked into outer space. It was the
How were you meditating? What was the meditation
it was a
ritual like?
guided meditation on YouTube.
Okay. By
Just some
yourself. You were alone and you were
I
doing.
was with it was me and my brother was about 5 feet away from me meditating, and it was
Okay.
at his apartment. And so I locked into what I perceived as outer space, and then I saw in the distance a little wormhole, and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And I went over to it, and I rode through this wormhole like the most vivid. Like, have you ever seen the movie Contact?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
that. It was
Mm-hmm.
like that, like so, like whoa, and it was like just amazing. And then when I popped out the other side of this wormhole, a black puff of smoke like came at me really fast, and in the middle of it was an eye, and it was like an old man's eye, and I saw a little bit of the face, and I was like, is that me? Is that it's like an older me? And just when I thought that, I heard my voice say it's okay, and then the eye came into me and like dissolved. Then like I went through another wormhole, and I dropped down into a black and white version of the room that I was in, and I saw like an hourglass shape of like souls. And one came out, and it was a woman who I later found out was my dad's aunt. So it was basically like an ancestral spirit kind of activation thing. And she like ran over to a door that was really there in reality. But again, I'm in like a black and white version of the room that I was actually in. And she was like frantically trying to open up this door. And it was all kind of freaking me out and scaring me. And I was like, all right, this is scaring me. And
Yeah.
then everything disappeared, and I woke up, and I turned to my brother, and I'm like, yo, the craziest thing just happened to me. And he looked up at me very confused, and he said, was that your eye or my eye?
You guys were looking at the same thing?
So we had a linked experience the entire way through.
How long was the actual meditation? Do you
Maybe
guys know?
about 15 minutes.
That's freaky.
Yeah. And then so once we realized we had a linked experience, I was like, what does this mean? And he was like, I don't know, man, but I feel like you're on a mission or something. And so that's kind of when I started getting my act together and got sober and started pursuing this deeper. And now my brother and we've had so many linked meditation experiences, like meeting our spirit animals together, going to past lives together. It almost got to the point where we were like, okay, like what? Is that like almost like not fun anymore because we can just do it whenever we want. But having that outside validation really helped me. I don't know. I might be in a mental hospital if I didn't have that happen to me. Just outside validation from a normal sober person that like was like, like this is real, this is happening, and I'm very very blessed for that.
Well, I do believe that the universe, God, whatever we want to call source, connects people to help each other and to
Yeah.
grow together. So, you got very lucky. You're right that that's your brother, a
He's
sibling,
my
right?
only sibling too. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's amazing. So part of awakening is to also heal. And again, so many of us are carrying around that ego and everything is a judgment to others and this reflection that we see because, oh, I hate what you're wearing. So, because you're fat and oh, because you're a slut or whatever it is, right? But it's because we have this broken child inside of us that we have not healed. So during your sessions, I can only imagine that that's what people are talking to you about and asking for help because that's the beginning stages. So, what words of advice through your, education that you're doing for others can you share with us today for anybody that's
Sure.
experiencing that? I'm one, for example, right? I want
Yeah.
to work on my judgment to others because I notice that as spiritual as I believe I am still judging everybody like they're going out of
Yeah.
style. And I'm
Yeah.
like, why am I doing this so much? I'm better than this.
Well, there's a few things involved. I'm gonna give you a practical meditation thing to do, but also just recognize that like the mind, which is like our computer to be used at our disposal, it's not you, right? But the mind, the aware, the mind is always looking for things that are out of place.
Hmm.
It's a defense mechanism essentially, right? It's like, oh, there, I see a gap in the abundance. Why is that there? I see a gap in what I see as normal. Why is that there? So it's always looking for that. So just because the mind goes, I don't like that, doesn't mean that you actually feel that way. It's like a separate part of you that goes, and you just got to kind of tell the mind, like, no, we don't want to do that anymore. Like
Right.
we're gonna go Control Alt Delete, throw it in the trash. We're not gonna do that anymore. And so again, don't feel so bad about the whole judgment thing because we do have to have discernment which is observation of different frequencies. But we don't have to have an opinion necessarily about if we like it or not. But that takes time. That takes time to work through.
Or just to better understand that that's not the frequency that we're trying to operate at right now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and also I'll tell you that, like, I've gone through a weight loss journey where I've lost almost 100 pounds, and I have
That's
thousands of
awesome.
followers. I have lots of people that follow me, and I get haters every once in a while that are like, how can I take spiritual advice from someone who's fat? And at first it used to really bother me because, but and it's like, and they don't know the journey that I've been through. They have no idea, and they don't know that I do kung fu, and they don't know that, like, whatever. The ego in me wants to be like, nah, nah. But really what it comes down to is that person, they have an issue with their own identity.
Is this
Because
is this the mirror principle that you talk about?
yes, because essentially, if you have feelings of inadequacy within yourself, then you're going to constantly find that in other people.
Right. It's all a
Your mind's,
reflection.
yes, is going to go looking for it. But here's the positive side of that yin and yang. Because I might not look like someone that they trust, and they say that thing to me, now is an opportunity for me to do teaching from a compassionate point of view, not a fuck you point of view.
I
But
gotcha.
and now all of a sudden, me being what he claimed as fat
Mhm.
is a blessing that I actually had it, because we wouldn't have had this conversation now.
Right. That was what brought you two together. That's why now he's actually paying attention to you
Right,
because of that, because if not, he wouldn't have.
exactly. So, but again, it really does. If you love yourself fully, it's impossible for you to not love everyone, because everyone is you. And when you love yourself fully and you've gone deep within yourself to the deepest, darkest shadows, and you say, yeah, this is who I am, fuck it, no one can ever fuck with you.
Right. Nothing,
And
nothing that they
so,
can say can affect you at that point.
yeah, yeah. So the deeper you go, the more compassionate you become for everyone.
Yeah.
So now a practical technique that you can use for a meditation technique is for inner child healing, is you essentially imagine yourself as your older self, which is your higher self compared to your child self, right? You imagine your older self going to your childhood home and seeing your childhood self, and you tell your child self, hey, Banks, I want you to pack your bags. I want you to get all your favorite toys, your stuffed animals, get everything that you need because you're going to be coming with me. I know it seems a little scary because you don't know what's out there, but no one knows you like I know you.
Mm.
No one knows what you've been through and what you're going to go through like I do. I've got your back. And you imagine yourself slowly leaving. I know it's scary. You're waving goodbye to mom and dad or whoever took care of you. They're getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And have a good cry as you go through it, but recognize that, like, you are the one who's always taken care of you. It's been you the whole time, and
Yeah.
it always will be, because at your highest level, you are everything. You are God. And that, if you look back at your child self now and everything that I had to go through, I know for me, I look at it with a smile and a wink, because I worried a lot and I never needed to. And so kind of go through that process and a meditation, have a good cry, love yourself, hug yourself, forgive yourself for all the shit that you've done,
Forgive
because
yourself. Forgiveness is huge.
it's more important to forgive yourself than to forgive anybody else, because it has to start from within. I forgive my ex for the terrible things that she did to me. I am still at the end kind of forgiving myself for what I did to her, right? So, but these are the things that we have to do. We have to heal these deep wounding, because if you don't heal it, you're leaving open a void. And if there's a void inside of you, you want to fill it with exterior things, drugs, sex, material items.
Houses, cars.
Exactly. And if you don't fill it with those things, it might get filled with a dark entity, a possessive energy, something that's going to be like, oh, there's a nice cozy place to do my bidding through this person. So we got to make sure that we really, really make ourselves whole and create our reality. Reality is not happening to us anymore. We've graduated. Now it's happening from us.
Do you believe that that is possible, where a demonic or evil entity can possess you because of the frequency that you're operating in?
Yeah, I think you can call them. There's different realizations of what that is. You can call it a demon. You can call it a negative energy. You can call it a bad idea. You can call it being depressed.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? There's like kind of like different levels of realization to it. But ultimately, everything is a thought form entity. So, everything, and there's a frequency, and a void is a feminine receiving angle of a frequency. So
Hmm.
something's going to want to go in there, right?
Okay. So why is it going back to forgiving others and forgiving yourself, and that's so important in any growth pattern that you're working on. Why is it so easy for us to forgive somebody else, but it's so difficult to forgive ourselves?
Because we don't we don't know what other people are thinking, but we know all of our own thoughts. We know our dirty little secrets that no one else
Right, those
knows.
skeletons in the
Yeah,
closet.
and we think, oh my God, it's so taboo, it's
Yeah.
so messed up. And I think we just work around in our own heads that way, thinking. But I mean, ultimately, I think the highest reason is because we're not here to heal anybody else. We are here to only heal ourselves, and
Yeah.
to learn how to let go and to become the truest versions of ourselves. Because we don't change anybody. We don't change the world. We only change ourselves. And then when you change yourself, everything
Everything
changes.
changes
Yeah.
around you.
That's the mirror.
I have been seeing that personally. It's
Yeah.
taken me, I'm telling you, it's going on what, 5 years now, right?
Yeah.
2025. It's taken me a minute. It's taken me a lot of hard times, but I'll fall back into a negative pattern. That's another thing that I'm noticing that I need to work on a little bit more, And but yes, you're right. Everything all of a sudden around you just starts shifting. It's like you elevate or you transmute to another dimension, whatever it is
Yeah.
that's happening, right?
Yeah.
Parallel realities. I mean, there has to be some truth to that. So
Yeah.
now that we got into that, so you were um deep into addiction at one point. So my father, um who passed away in 2019, October 18, 2019, he was alcoholic. But like bottle of vodka a day.
Wow.
Forever, forever. Like that was his thing. He was a political prisoner in Cuba. God knows
Oh
what he
wow.
went through. I'm sure that was a big part of the reason why that happened.
Yes. Yes.
Smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day, but he was doing this forever. Clearly, this took a huge toll on his body.
Yeah.
The doctor said to him, "Hey, buddy, you better quit cold turkey or you're done. You're dead. Here's AA. You can call this therapist. Here's
Yeah.
antidepressants." He took antidepressants for, I think it was 2 weeks, and then he said, "The doctor is crazier than I am." When I spoke with him, he goes, "I got to do this on my own." Banks, he took the pills for 2 weeks, never picked up a drink again, never smoked cigarettes, and everybody was still around him getting fucked up. But
Wow.
he had the capability or the willpower
Yep.
to be able to never drink again for 20 years, still
Wow.
holding in a lot of pain. Sick man, his
Yeah.
body was falling apart. But then there's so many other people that are searching for sobriety, right?
Yeah.
And they're having to go to AA, and I'm 227 days sober today, and they're counting the seconds that they're
It
sober.
still got you if you do that.
That would fuck with my head so hard because
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
am I sober or am I a slave to something else now?
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. That's exactly
You
what it
know?
is.
So
Yeah.
then how is it that some people can do what my father did and other people have to live based on, these guidelines that humans are giving them? Okay, look here, you got to check off this box. You got to check off this box. You got to come to meetings every day. And I'm not talking down to anybody that's going to AA and it's work for them.
Oh,
I
sure. No, absolutely. It's actually a very spiritual
Yeah, exactly.
program.
Well,
It is designed to give you a spiritual awakening in a kind of logical way.
I just find it fascinating how some people can do it cold turkey and others cannot. And other people
Yeah.
relapse over and over again.
Yeah, well, I think that for your father, his experience being a political prisoner was a meditative state. When you're in a place where you really have to just kind of go into yourself and just be like, okay, there's not a lot I can do right now. I'm gonna like sit through this. I'm gonna wait this out. I'm gonna let this run its course. So I think that experience for your father probably made it much easier for him to just be like, all right, I'm just gonna quit cold turkey. It's going to suck for a while, and then I'm going to be fine.
Because I've done it before. I've
I've
done,
done
right.
I've done something like this before, right?
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Thanks for
and
that, Banks, that
oh
perspective.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's when you realize that like holy shit, everything really is meant to be exactly how it is. Like, and I've been thinking about recently just how the ability to, if you are somebody who has had to get sober on something in your life, that is such a powerful thing to be able to do. It's a full control of yourself, and it does require inward meditative states of like, okay, I know I don't feel great right now. I don't remember what it feels like to not be on this drug, but I am gonna have faith that it's gonna be okay. And so, like, it's so powerful to have an experience like that in your life, which is why I don't know a single mystic who wasn't addicted to hard drugs at some point in their life.
I've noticed that. I
It's
have
it
noticed
is a
that.
rite of passage because first of all, as a mystic, you have to be comfortable in altered states of consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
which on this plane of existence, the easiest form of that is through drugs. So you have to be comfortable in altered states of consciousness. So that's going to like kind of teach you with that. But also you have to overcome it because I have to continue to use these psychedelics and these drugs, these plants to help the collective. And if I'm just a drug addict with no discipline, then I can't be a mystic the way that I need to be.
Right.
So it really does require all of that shit that happened to you before to get you to this place.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very true. Very true. So when you need nothing, you attract everything. Break that down for us. Break that down for me.
Yeah, yeah. Man, so when okay, so if you can look around at the place that you're in right now and really just recognize that, like, oh wow, like this is perfect. Like I had to make some tweaks to it. I had to, put up some posters. I had to move some things around. I had to clean up. I had to clean up my mind and realize, like, oh no, this is actually very nice and very perfect. It's almost like when you do that, you graduate that frequency. And then the universe goes, ah, now that you've mastered this frequency, I can give you the next level of this great feeling that you have. The opposite's also true. So if you're in this place, I fucking hate it. Ew, I hate this place. I hate,
You more
living
shit.
with my parents, living with bad roommates, living with then the universe goes, okay, you've graduated to that lower frequency. I'm gonna give you more of that now. Because the universe is simply giving you more of what you are. The universe is like a blank canvas for us to do what we want. It responds to our energy. It doesn't care if we do right or wrong. Only God does, and that's you. Which
Right.
is why I can't. How do I feel? And
The
the energy
self-judgment.
never. The energy doesn't lie. So whether you care if you do right or wrong or how you do it, that all comes down to God, and that's you as the observer, as the unit of source that you are. But the universe is a blank canvas for us to do whatever we want with. So when you're in this state of, oh my God, I'm so full, I don't need anything, and I love my life right now, the universe gives you more of what you are. So, and when you're in the state of I don't need anything and I'm not expecting anything, you allow the universe to use its infinite powers in the infinite ways that it can bring you to your next level of the truest version of you, of happiness, of whatever it is that you want. But when you are like kind of like I need it to be this certain way and
Yeah.
I'm not there yet and I want it to be this certain way, then you're taking all the infinite ways that it could be brought to you and you're narrowing it down, which makes it a lot harder for the universe to bring it to you.
Yeah.
So when you are like, I don't need anything, I don't expect anything, you're present. And when you're in the present moment, which is the only place that exists, there is
Right.
no past, there is no future, then you are coherent in the place where the magic actually happens. There's no magic in the future, there's no magic in the past because they don't exist. All of the magic, the synchronicity, the miracles, all of it is right here. And the way you get right here is by not thinking about how good it could be if or how bad it was when right now.
Mm. Yeah. And it's so hard to do that. It's so hard because as human beings, we always reflect on, again, mistakes that we've done in the past and then in the future, right? Oh, I got to set myself up. I got to set my kid up. Like, how am I going to retire? And going back to what you said earlier about you when you were a child and, taking your younger self by the hand and if you really look back, it always works out. Everything just always works out,
Yes.
Shit could happen. Bad things happen. Bad things happen to everybody.
Yeah.
It's part of this world.
Yes, absolutely.
But it
And
always has a way of working itself out.
that's what I've noticed. And I just have a very strong intuitive and logical overstanding of yin and yang, light and dark. Um, and it's so obvious to me that everything in my life perfectly brought me to this place. All of
Yeah.
the things that I really did not like doing, like I didn't like being a salesman. I didn't like being pressured or pressuring people. I don't like I didn't like not being prepared for things. And ironically, all those things that I really didn't like and I really struggled with, I am so good at now. I was so worried that I was never going to be prepared. And now I prefer to freestyle life. Now
Right.
I prefer to go in and go with the flow, which is the natural flow of the universe. As soon
Yeah.
as I start bringing in my human ideas of how I want it to be this, then I'm in the 3D world and I have to work hard and do these steps and it's got to be slow and methodical. And yeah, it'll work eventually. Or I can just realize that everything's always worked out for me and I actually don't have to go anywhere or do anything. All I have to do is express the truest version of myself and I will attract more of me.
It's funny because I'm also in sales and like that's my real job. That's what pays the bills.
Yeah.
And I follow Bashar and his teachings.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest things, or one of the things that he says, right? Which is a lot of what you're sharing as well. When you are selling something, you're not selling a product, you're selling yourself, right? You're selling your authentic self. And
Yes.
that alone will do the work of whatever product it is you're trying to sell to another
Oh,
person.
sales is pure manifestation.
Mm-hmm.
I was in sales for a decade, for like 12 years before I even picked up a book like The Secret
Yeah.
or Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
And when I was like, oh, this explains a lot of these mm, things that can't really be explained in sales. Like,
Yeah.
why are certain people so much better than other people? And it has nothing to do with their work ethic or anything like that. It's because their power of manifestation is stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Like every sale is a manifestation, every single one. You're creating it, And I had the guy who was working for me that actually did the DMT administered that to me when I had that near death experience. I didn't know it at the time, but he told me years later. He was like, "Bro, I was microdosing LSD while I was at the job," and he was the best salesman of all time. Like I'm talking, people might get like 10 orders in a week. He would get like 20 in a day. It was insane.
Yeah.
And he told me that he was microdosing LSD and saw how every one of his feelings manifested as something that the
A
customer would
trigger on
say.
the other person
Right. And saw like 5 sales in like before they
ahead.
happened and like and like what he had to do now to help the sale in the future. And like it was all, but he was obviously wide open crown chakra, tapped into all that stuff. But it just reminded me of like, oh yeah, there's a lot of magic involved. I mean, it's everywhere. But that was my
Chelsea,
opening up to it.
yeah, Chelsea Handler, the comedian, she talks about that a lot. She loves to microdose on mushrooms and DMT.
Yeah.
And she's like, I get it from doctors. It's really clean. She goes, it does something to you. It does make you happier because you're looking at the sun and it's brighter than ever.
Yeah.
You're looking at the sky and it's blue and beautiful. It just makes you laugh and just like enjoy life and it puts you in an
Yeah.
altered state but in a happy state because you're microdosing, right? It's
Yeah,
not
the
like,
microdosing DMT and mushrooms, what it does for me is it just makes me go like, oh yeah, I
right.
am I am that.
Yeah, exactly. True, true. How do we activate our third eye safely and intentionally?
um, you can open your third eye through journaling, through poetry, through making music. I did that kind of by accident. Um, if you start doing research into these things
Hmm.
and start like I made a song called Starman like 2 weeks before I had that meditation experience where I saw my third eye and all that crazy stuff. And in the song that I made, Starman, we were using shrooms to make the song, me and my buddy Phil. And I like don't even really remember making a song. Like I think I like kind of channeled it. And we talk about all these things that basically then happened in that meditation. Like we talk about going through portals and the third eye and like all this kind of stuff.
That's
And
what the
so
song is about.
it's about literally what happened to me, right?
Yeah.
So I think that like my higher self or whatever, however you want to call it, kind of like did that to kind of break it open, my ideas of what it could be. Because again, okay, so like we're taking on the reality that we project is what we think, and we've been told what to think from other people our whole lives.
Right.
So that's why we are part of a reality that is really like what how they see it instead of how we see it. So when you're a creative person and you start thinking of new realities, you're writing novels, science fiction, esoteric stuff, just getting fun and creative, you are creating from the void a new reality that isn't given to you by something outside of you.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the power in creating your own reality right there. When you start realizing like, oh, yes, I can take from the ideas of what is already here, but I need to create something totally new from it. That's the key to it all. um what was your question originally?
To activate our third eye.
Okay, third eye.
But digging into what you're saying though,
Yeah,
I've read a lot about very famous musicians like Prince
yeah,
and Michael Jackson that they would get an idea at 3 o'clock in the morning and they would wake everybody up.
yes,
And they were like, if
yes.
I don't do this, Prince is gonna get this
Prince is
song.
gonna get it. I've had it happen to me. I've
Yeah.
had it, and it's and that is because no thoughts are ours. And that's when we think when I was talking about earlier when I was like, don't worry about the judging of people and that kind of stuff. Like, yes, we don't want to judge, but don't get hung up on I'm a bad person because I'm judging. The thoughts aren't yours. Like all the thoughts that could ever exist or ever did exist, they all exist right here and now. And they're in a constant like stream of consciousness, essentially. And you're picking up on them based on your intentions and your actions.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we get negative thoughts, uh, instead of just like ruminating on, oh my God, that's a negative thought, we just go, oh, that's a negative thought, put that away. Okay,
Let it
keep going.
go.
It's
Let
not
it
me
go.
anyway, you know?
Right. Let
And
it
if I'm
go.
going to ruminate on a thought, I'd rather it be a positive thought. But even ruminating on a positive thought, eventually will get you in a state of like, ooh, I want this, I want this. And then the universe says, yeah, you want this. Not, yeah, you have this.
Right.
Yeah, you want this. Yeah, you want this. Yeah, you want this. Which is another reason why, in meditation, we try to just be the observer of the thoughts and eventually get to the place where like there aren't a lot of thoughts going on, and then from that place we get clear again and we can make intentions and make actions in the real world to then create our new reality.
Love that. Love that. Okay, so we've been talking for an hour. I don't want to make this go too long because I've learned through previous podcasts that people's attention span is this small.
Yeah,
And I believe this information is so important that I really want anybody that watches this, is meant whoever is meant to watch this really tunes into the full hour
yeah,
so that they
sure.
really get this information because you've done amazing. You really have explained it so clearly.
Thank you.
So thank you for speaking with me. So in closing this, what's one final message for any lost soul that's seeking, I don't know, help, awakening, answers, right? Like I think that so many of us are still little soldiers just following the program that we were, from the moment that we're born, we're being told what to do, you
Yeah,
know? And so many of us want to break free from the matrix, right? What everybody's calling, but we're afraid. We're
yeah,
afraid of leaving the job or leaving the husband or the girlfriend, right?
yeah.
Everybody's so what's some advice based on everything that you've seen that you can share with us that'll help somebody that needs to listen to this today?
On the other side of the unknown is the information needed to get you to the next level. The unknown is I don't know what's in there, but I have this pool to go inside of it. It's not to be in the unknown forever. It's so
Mm-hmm.
you can pass through the unknown and get to the other side and gain the information, gain the data necessary to then get you to the next level.
To operate, yeah.
And you as we are all connected. There is no such thing as things, as Alan Watts said. There's no such thing as things, just one thing, and that's you. and everything else. It's one thing, pretending to be different things. So you, as the one thing, could have been anything. In fact, you have been. But still, you decided to incarnate as you. It must be pretty special.
Right. Right. There's a
So,
reason there's a reason why I chose to incarnate as me.
yes, and it's the most amazing, special reason that there ever could be because you've already been everything else,
Mm.
right? So you're creating, it is unknown. It's designed that way so that you can decide that you want to experience this new level that no one else has. So if anybody needs any help, you can reach out to me at any time. I do offer one-on-one mystic guidance, like sessions, 45-minute sessions, hour and a half sessions. I also have monthly guidance. I have pricing from all different types of pricing to help anybody at any financial place that they're at. And I really want to help people. So if anybody needs any help, they can definitely reach out to me on TikTok or Instagram.
So you are on Instagram, TikTok, are you on Facebook? Do you have a
Yes,
YouTube channel as
I
well,
have a
correct?
YouTube channel, I have a Facebook, and my music is streaming on all platforms,
Oh
Optimistic
yeah.
Banks, and my podcast is on Spotify, YouTube, all that kind of stuff as well.
Awesome. So I'm going to add all this information at the bottom. This will be posted on YouTube.
Okay,
I'll add all of your links so that anybody that's looking to find you can easily find you on the
I
link. But
appreciate it.
again, thank you so much, Banks. This was great. I personally needed to hear this today. It's been kind of a rough couple of days. I don't know, and it's like this happened now, and it's just like
I'm
I'm
so
I'm
happy.
I'm
I
vibing.
I
I'm vibing right now.
I
You
think
know.
so. I think that one of my goals in this, oddly enough, I've become this kind of like healed masculine. So I like to really just kind of like, be a logical minded masculine that still has that feminine intuitive energy and just show people like this is how it can be. It doesn't have to be toxic. It doesn't
Hmm.
have to be soft. It can be that in between, you know. You can be a man and still have the feminine energy. You can be a woman and still have the masculine energy.
Well, we
In
need them
fact,
both. We
we
need
need
them
them both,
both.
exactly. So I just like to be a beacon of that for everybody.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks again. Appreciate your time.
Sure.
Appreciate the information. You've been awesome. To everyone that's watching, thank you all for your support. Please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel so that you never miss episodes like what we're doing today, with banks, optimistic banks, and this has been very eye-awakening. It really has been. And a lot of the information that you've done it very clearly. You got a way of talking. You got a way of sharing your stuff. At least to me you
Thank you.
did.
I
So
appreciate that. Thank you.
I wish you a great rest of the day, and we'll keep in touch, my friend.
Definitely. Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.